the Hoffman Show. We're on the team at 980. We are always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. It is a big day here at the show as we have all kinds of things going on. There's plenty happening around the NFL. We'll talk to Mike Jones about all the non-Commanders things in an hour. Diana Rossini has kicked up some dirt around the Terry McLaurin contract negotiations. Plus, Anthony, I don't know how to handle this because I can't have both you on the screen and the widescreen of my setup here at the same time. But it's also a big personal day on the show. It's not every day that one of your absolute best friends in the whole entire world is getting traded to your local basketball team. But Alicia Clark is headed back to the Mystics in a big trade that I will professionally say is much bigger than just Alicia. Why it goes down. We'll talk about that coming up. We might have a guest on it this hour. If not, we will get to it later in the show. But Brittany Sykes, who's also a friend of the show, we are losing an Orange, though. We are losing a fellow Syracuse alum, which is sad. But she's headed off to Seattle, and Alicia's coming back. Also, the Mystics get a 2026 first-round pick. So we will get into that later on in the show. But if you notice the different background today, it's because, what better reason could there literally possibly be for me to dust off this jersey, Anthony?
I mean, the news broke. She's coming back to D.C. Why not kick it off?
Yeah.
The show like that.
I will say, I also don't – this is not going to be an accurate jersey all of a sudden because Alicia wore 22 when she was here. And obviously Sonia Citron has laid claim to that. And while Sony is the type of player that would just be like, yeah, I'll give it up, I don't think you can do that in the middle of the season. And I don't think at this point with where Sony is and the long future she has ahead here that she's going to change it up. So we will I can confirm, sources confirm, actually source, the primary one confirms she has no idea what number she's wearing yet when she arrives. So we will talk some Mystics later on in the show. They have a big game against the Sky tonight. Sky are without Angel Reese, who's been banged up. So she is out for that game, but still have to deal with some other good players, obviously, that Chicago has, although they have been struggling. But we're going to start the show with what Diana Rossini had to say here in a few minutes on B. Mitch and Finley. But I'll just start with something that I thought was interesting that kind of led to Diana coming on, which is they relaunched their podcast, Scoop City. It's her, it's Chase Daniel. And obviously Diana's super plugged in, and she knows people all around the league and agents and front office people, and I have no idea who she's talking to. But she advanced the story of the Terry contract holdout in a way that I kind of been waiting on. The kind of pull quote from the podcast and that she was pushing on social media is that the contract that DK Metcalf signed is absolutely something that Terry's camp is looking at, which we knew, but it's not like they're looking for an exact replica, and it might not be so much about the AAV or the APY. Those two terms are basically interchangeable. AAV, average annual value, APY, average per year, because that's the number with DK that's silly. The number with DK that's silly, that has him as a receiver in a different class than his pay suggests he is the AAV. He's not the fourth best receiver in football. He has the fourth highest AAV behind Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and CeeDee Lamb. Jamar's at 40.5, I believe. Jetta's at 35. And then CD's, I think, at 33 and change or 34. Doing this off the top of my head.
34.
34. Thank you, Anthony. So you have those guys there. And then DK's at 33. And then Garrett Wilson just signed at 32 and a half, and on down the list you go. And as we've talked about it ad nauseum, including on Friday with a big fancy, graphical inclusion on YouTube, where I pulled up DK's contract for everyone to see and the details, and laid out why his AAV number is so high is because that final year is never going to happen. And this is very common. Often agents want that to be able to brag and be like, oh, I got my guy. I was actually listening to an old podcast that I've had queued up that I need to finish. Things went crazy today. But I've had it queued up since like June when it was recorded. I just never got the chance to listen to it. But Joel Corey, who's also been on the show, and I believe is coming on the show tomorrow, Anthony?
Yes, he is.
He was on with Robert Mays, and they did a super deep dive on the Athletic Football Show into the salary cap. And he brought up some other examples, like when Devontae Adams signed what was, I think, written on paper as a 5-year, $140 million contract with the Raiders. That was actually like a 2-year deal. DK's is like that. Man, the details are starting to come out on Cortland Sutton's contract. They can get out of that thing, Anthony, in 2026. It's 2025 right now.
Wow.
So it was, presented as like a 4-year, 90 whatever, and really it's like a 1-year extension. It got him new money. It's a worthwhile extension for Sutton to sign at the age of 30. You get as much guaranteed money as you can now, and then you deal with the restructures and all that stuff later. And if somehow you play up to your number, maybe the team lets you earn that money. But realistically, that 33 number is one that Terry was never going to sniff, nevertheless get. And what it sounds like, and what we'll let you hear from Diana in a moment, is where there are some similarities in the contract structure and level-wise what Terry McLaurin might be looking for to DK Metcalf, and why that 33 number might not be such a huge inhibitor after all. So that you'll hear the most important stuff from Diana Rossini's chat with B. Mitch and Finley, and we'll react to it next. Also, still to come today, some of your phone calls later in the hour at 301-230-0980. We might have some take command for you today as well on why joint practices are so important. Again, Mike Jones from The Athletic coming up at 5 o'clock. Damon Amendolara also going to check in today. DA, our friend from SiriusXM Satellite Radio, who has, always, I can talk anything football with DA all the time. He's always got interesting takes and whatever. But the other reason I wanted to have DA on today is the Oakland Athletics are in town, even though they are no longer the Oakland Athletics. And I don't think anybody in national media has been more on top of the Oakland disaster and that the A's leaving than DA. He's done stuff. He literally went out there and had a event with listeners at one point in time. So as we're now more than halfway through the baseball season, and theoretically the A's are moving to Las Vegas soon, and they've been playing in Sacramento all year, and I haven't been following that story at all. DA has. So I want to hear from him. And also it's fun to beat up on bad owners that are not ours, because we did that for a long time, and it's not as fun when it's your own owner. But John Fisher, the owner of the A's, certainly someone that DA has no love lost for. So we will get into that with DA at 5:30, plus some thoughts on the Terry contract situation, where he's at, where he sees it from his national point of view. And then at 6 o'clock, we will also get into some of our biggest questions about the joint practices tomorrow. Anthony and I will go back and forth, pick six style, on that. The Mystics trade stuff as well. Again, we might have a guest on that, still efforting that, but breaking news, you know how that goes. But next, 100% guaranteed, Diana Rossini. She was on B. Mitch and Finley earlier. We'll let you hear what she had to say next. minutes off the show. We're on the Team 980. We are always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube. At the Team 980 is where you find us there. Of course, you just search the Team 980 in any of those other places, and we'll just magically pop up, and you hit play, and then we're in your ears. It's you asked for it. You did all that stuff. We didn't just magically show up there on accident. That'd be kind of weird if we did. Anyway, that got weird anyway. The point is, Anthony Haney, that Terry McLaurin would like a new contract. And Terry and his side and the Commanders and their side have obviously not been able to come to terms. And they are reportedly very far apart, and all the things that we've heard basically nonstop for months. And I also think one of the things that's funny about the reporting on all this is like, and nothing seems to have changed. And it's like, what are you supposed to get? Like, oh, Terry's side has gotten closer to not doing the deal. Or he's gotten closer, but they're not in agreement yet. I guess you could hear something like that, but like nothing changes until it changes, and then they agree on a deal. Because neither side, you don't want to come down and then watch the other side not move. And like, it'd be nice if you had maybe a better negotiation where maybe that was the case and each side was budging. But at the end of the day, like, you're probably not going to hear a lot about it changing or a lot about a lot until you hear maybe, oh, you know, they're talking, they're working out details, it's close, or it's done. And Diana Rossini been digging around on this, as has everyone else. The Athletics senior NFL insider and host of Scoop City. And I listened to her and Chase Daniel talk about it. There wasn't a ton of new information, but the big thing is like, hey, there's not it may not be the 33 APY or 33 a year average annual value that we think that Terry's side is hung up on that is actually the case. That was kind of the big nugget out of it. And as a result, when Diana joined JP and B. Mitch earlier today, the message was very similar to what we've heard, matter of not if, but when, because it seems like both sides, while they might be far apart right now, ultimately do want to get a deal done.
And obviously the hold-ins are the story, and in Washington it's all about Terry and where they're at, and you know, the question everyone wants to know is, where is it at? Is this getting done? And I continue to say the same thing that I'm sure you guys are saying as well, and other reporters talking to you about it which is everyone feels good this is going to get done. It's just really when and how close are they to striking a deal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's what we're waiting on, is like, when is it going to? And so ultimately it becomes a giant game of chicken, which is why Diana says this.
You know, so much of this is like, who has the stomach for it too? You know, I'm following with the Trey Hendrickson story, and I'm in touch with him talking about what he's doing. And, you know, I can just tell through his voice. It's hard. It's hard to do this. These guys want to be on the field. Look at Terry. You guys are there every day with him. You see him. Like, he's a class act. He's a professional. He loves his team. He's all Washington all the time. Yes, he asked for a trade. But do we all really think Terry McLaurin wants to play somewhere else? No, of course he doesn't. And we know Washington wants him there just based on everything that he provides this offense, knowing that he's the number one weapon, and knowing all the other great stuff that fits into the culture of what Dan Quinn wants. And he is the poster child for what a commander should be. I think we could all agree. It's just, who's going to give here? Who's going to be willing to say, all right, Terry, you're not going to get the 32, 33, 34 top dollar right now, because the reality is you are 30 years old. But at the same time, Washington, you've got a quarterback on a very cheap deal. You're all in. You've got the vets signed up. They're ready to win. You went all the way to the NFC Championship game last year. You can do this year. Champagne problems. This is a good problem to have, and you got the money. Maybe you're willing to overpay a bit. So I think we're at that point where it's starting to feel like we're getting closer. I just can't report right now at this moment, like, guys, any second. I don't think it's that close.
And that's very consistent with what we've heard, but I think it's well framed. Who can stomach it? And this is where I look at Adam Peters' past and the people that he's worked with in the past and go, I bet on Adam Peters. Now, Terry McLaurin is incredibly principled, but in part it's like, what are you stomaching? If you're the Commanders, you're looking at your schedule and you go, okay, week 1 we have the Giants. Respectfully, Anthony, I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. respectfully, I think the Commanders can beat the Giants without Terry McLaurin. Is that overstating? I mean, look, the Giants defense is good. It's week 1. You never know. I would prefer to have Terry McLaurin. But when we look at the ceiling of the team and how high it is and what they need to do to win the Super Bowl this year, I don't think clearing the bar of beating the Giants at home without Terry, if you can't do that, then you need to reevaluate a lot of stuff.
I'm not going to lie, Craig. I don't know if I necessarily agree.
You don't think they can beat? Are the Giants better? I'm not saying the Giants can't win, but like, fast forward. I know you're not great at picking games. Sorry, that was a cheap shot. But if it's week 1 and we're doing game picks,
our games last year against the Giants were very, very, very competitive, Craig. These are divisional
games.
Exactly.
I get it. But like from a talent standpoint,
on paper, it says that we should have blew them out both times last year. That didn't happen. And they had Daniel Jones. They had a worse quarterback last year. I think Russell Wilson is an upgrade. Their defense is pretty good. I think their front 7 is pretty stout. It's going to be tough to run against. So we're going to need guys who can, win and get open. I think, to be honest, I think the game's going to be tough.
Okay.
With or without Terry, it's going to be tough.
Okay. I think the Commanders are not going to be super sweating week 1 against the Giants if Terry decides to really push this. And again, I don't know what the exact, legalities are around this ankle injury. Mm-hmm. Because if he's like, well, I can't pass a physical, then, well, that's a problem. Because I don't think they're going to waive him, which they could. Remember, this money's not guaranteed. They could waive him. And he would get nothing. But then he would just go sign somewhere else and be a free agent, which, is in a way like kind of helps him. It's like the one thing he's got from a leverage standpoint. But if he goes somewhere else and then immediately passes a physical, the Commanders would file a grievance and they'd be like, hello, you couldn't pass your physical here, but you could there. Like, what the hell is going on? Anyway, the point is, assuming that there's no funny business with the ankle, like they probably go out and win week 1. The offense is going to look okay. And Terry's going to miss out on like $800,000, I think, are his game checks, something like that. Like, how much money are you willing to miss out on? And so when it talks about what you're stomaching, it's like, okay, the team side, you're stomaching a short-term pain of not having the player and whatever distraction comes with it. For the player, you're sacrificing, like, massive amounts of money. And this is where, like, the fact that NFL players make gargantuan amounts of money becomes a huge factor, because no human being is like, or at least one that's not like a billionaire, is not going to be like, oh, $800,000. Like, that's a lot of freaking money. And nevertheless, you get 2 weeks in. Now you're over $1.5 million. You're just going to willing to flush that down the drain? Hell no. And so that's why players give. Like, I know Ezekiel Elliott is like the one rare exception that, he actually held out multiple games, and there's a couple others. But, like, guys don't go into the regular season for a reason. And so it does come down to this game of chicken and who's got the stomach for it. And I think that Terry has more of a stomach for it than a lot of pros. But also, like, at some point, you look in the mirror and you go, who am I? And I think back, there's that epic speech he gave in the tunnel last year. When they turn on the film, I know what they're going to say about me. And that guy is eventually going to look in the mirror and go, I know what I want him to say about me. And I said I was there for my teammates, that I was a great teammate, that I wanted to play football. I fought hard, on a business front, but like I didn't push it too far. And I don't think that's a weakness. I think that's Terry's character, and that is a strength, that this is more than a business to him. And the other thing I'll say too, in Terry's credit to his character, is like, I don't think this is about dollars. I think this is about respect. And as he said, it's about, in the NFL, the way you show respect is with dollars. So he feels like he's being disrespected. But if they can find a way to save some face, guarantee some extra money, get him a little bit extra money this year, even if he winds up not signing a long-term extension, I do think that's a relevant way to go about this. The other thing that I would say is a possibility that I hadn't thought of until I was listening to that Joel Corey podcast earlier from a couple months ago is I wonder if they could rip up this year. Like there's still some dead money that in this year and next year that would have to be counted. You can't get rid of that. But if part of the problem is extension and that pushes his age out, could they rip up this year, basically start over this year, give him a nice chunk of change this year, give him something expensive next year, and then by 2027, now you're in a little bit more financial flexibility land if you're the Commanders. So another thing, we'll talk to Joel Corey about that tomorrow. It's very complicated.
I was about to say, didn't the Dolphins just do that to Minka? They gave him like an extra $2 million or something like that for this year.
Well, they could definitely rearrange stuff, but like I'm talking about basically, I don't know, ripping up the contract.
Yeah.
There's some dead money. I like at that point you're really talking about kind of a 2-year extension versus a 3. Like it's at that point it's semantics to an extent, but again, because they have the money now and there's nothing else to do on this year's cap, like I would try to front load that contract in some on some level. All right, when we get back here on the Hoffman Show, joint practice tomorrow in New England. Why are joint practices so important? And some story time fun from my time covering them and Logan's time playing in them. Take Command style. Never been heard. Even if you're a Take Command subscriber, this is not out yet. So you get a special preview next here on the Hoffman Show. Coming up at 5 o'clock, Coming up at 5 o'clock, Mike Jones of The Athletic, NFL Insider, joins us. There's a bunch of news that even just popped in the last 5 minutes. We got which Browns quarterback is going to start in the preseason. We got a suspension in the NFC North for a top player. So we got all kinds of news notes. Plus, I know Mike's been down in Jacksonville. What do we make of the Jags putting Travis Hunter as a starting receiver and a second-string corner on their initial unofficial depth chart? We'll get into all of that with Mike coming up in just a little bit. Right now, though, Take Command takes you to New England in our minds, because that's where the joint practice is going to be. Why have they become so important? And some fun story time. The full episode of Take Command will be out a little bit later on today, including more specific previews of the offense and the defense and how they match up with the Patriots and the things that we're looking for. But a general overview of why tomorrow is such an important data point for Dan Quinn, Adam Peters and company right now on Take Command here on The Hoffman Show.
It's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulsen and former Commanders beat reporter Craig Hoffman.
What's up? What's happening? Welcome in on a game week edition of Take Command. That got you all fired up, Logan Paulsen.
Yeah.
I'm Craig
excited,
Hoffman. We got a preseason game on Friday in New England and a joint practice before that.
Yeah, it's weird. Kind of going through all we had our production meeting with the coordinators and the head coach today, and we're getting ready for travel on Thursday. You know what I mean? It's a game week. It's happening. And obviously it's the tenor of this is a little bit different than, regular season game, but it's football starting, and it's our first as a fan base, an analyst. It's the first opportunity to kind of see the team in whatever iteration takes the field on Friday. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely not expecting a ton of starters, if any starters, to play on Friday. That's just how the first preseason game tends to go these days. And that actually puts a lot more importance on the joint practice on Wednesday. So, Logan, since you're not traveling up till Thursday, I'm not traveling at all. We thought we'd bring in a big gun to help review the joint practice, and we went as big as possible. So John Kibe's going to join us coming up on Thursday's show. So mid-morning, we'll record with John. He'll be up in Foxborough, and then we will put out that episode hopefully by midday on Thursday, reviewing the joint practice, which will also, I think, lead us into what we expect out of the game, depending on what we see in that joint practice. Okay, yeah, that guy's definitely probably he seems to have gotten his work. He's probably not playing in the game,
right?
But we will preview the game as well. So Kime on Thursday with us here on Take Command. Very much looking forward to that. But in the meantime, why have joint practices become so important? We're going to talk about that here off the top of the show, and then we'll get into specifically some of the position battles and things that we'd be watching for. And we're looking to hear, we'll ask John about on Wednesday, and we're looking to hear everybody's reporting on about this joint practice. But it is not hyperbole to say, Logan, that a lot of the kind of new wave of coaches, we'll call it the McVay-Shanahan era of coaches, those guys seem to really value joint practices more than preseason games. Why do you think that evolution has taken place?
So I think, we've talked about this a little bit in years past, and I think a couple of things. One, it gives you more control. And I think that's ultimately what you're looking for, right? It's like if you're a coach, sometimes in a game, right, you might not get a 2-minute drill. You might not get a red zone drill. You might not get the third string guy and the fourth string guy a 2-minute drive. And again, you're trying to evaluate them one-to-one. So how do I know, if the situations are totally different, how they handle these opportunities? And so obviously when we're in a joint practice, I can go to, in this case, Mike Vrabel and be like, hey, Mike, I want to make sure that we get 2-minute. I want this kind of plays. This is why we want to do it. And then Mike will say, okay, yeah, we can accommodate that, but can you give us, team run or whatever it is? And once we've kind of worked all that stuff out, it helps us evaluate. So from a coaching standpoint, it gives us more control. And from an Adam Peters perspective or from a GM perspective, it lets you see guys from the other team. It lets you see guys from your team. It lets you see how real stuff is. Because I think that's another thing people forget. In the preseason game, we're not actually running real plays. It's like day 1, day 2 install, basic stuff. Here we can kind of open the bag a little bit more. It's not televised, they can't air any of the stuff. So we can kind of be a little bit more aggressive with what we want to show versus one opponent who we're not playing in the regular season. So I think there's a lot of advantages. And I think maybe the penultimate or the most important one is it helps keep your starting quarterback healthy. I think about the New England Patriots when Tom Brady was there, they were in a joint practice, all the time because it let Tom Brady see defenses, get the reps, but you couldn't touch them. So he always came out pretty healthy.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that Joe Witt Jr. talked about yesterday, Monday, as we record this on Tuesday, for those that might be listening to it later, when he spoke to the media, was, it's about time for us to see some other guys, and it is not just like the frustration that we talk about with like fights and training camp and stuff like that. Of you just keep running your helmet into the same dudes over and over again. But I'll ask you to try to see if I can pry a story out of you. Is there a guy that you were a teammate with that was just a way better player than you, but you had his number because you just got to go against him in practice every day, and you're just like, yeah, I know how to block Ryan Kerrigan or Brian Arakpo or whoever, even though like if you had been on another team and only got to see him once a season, you probably wouldn't have won that matchup as often.
Yeah, I think the one that first comes to mind is Ryan Kerrigan. Like, Ryan Kerrigan is a great player. He's one of the best players in the franchise's history.
Franchise all-time leader in sacks, like, Ring of Fame type of guy.
So I'm not saying that like I ever like killed Ryan Kerrigan, but I did feel like I really understood how he played and like what technically I needed to do to be in the right position to make the day hard for him. So, like he had like a very specific way he liked to lay his hands, and I knew my hands had to come up in a certain way, and I knew my footwork had to be just right. And I could see how if you were for a different team, like that would be really hard. You know what I mean? Like that would be really hard to deal with that over. But I had 1,000 reps of this exact strike, of this exact step, of this exact pass rush. And over the course of how many years we play against each other? 3-4 years. Like you're like, I kind of feel really good about where he's at, like what I need to do to get him. Same thing with like guys like Lorenzo Alexander when he was playing a stand-up edge. Like he would give people fits because he was so physical, but I kind of knew his line. I kind of knew where I needed to put my shoulders to kind of keep him out of the run. And that's in some ways, like it kind of bred a false confidence for me
right.
going into these games, right? Because I'm like, oh, okay, feel pretty comfortable, right? But then
I can block Ryan Kerrigan. I can block anybody.
But then you get to see somebody new, kind of to your point, and you're like, I don't know this guy as well. So it's funny. Like I was talking to Fred Smoot about this the other day, and like coming out of any joint practice that we did. So we had one against Houston and one against New England when I was here in Washington. I always felt like I was more ready for the preseason game because I had seen them more. I'd seen the guys I was going against. I kind of could watch some film, review some stuff, kind of get ready for the preseason game in a way that I couldn't prior. And I do think it helps with some of that stuff, the familiarity. And so I think like what Joe Witt Jr. is talking about is like, I don't want familiarity all the time. I want to see how you respond to. That was the other, this is maybe even kind of a higher level point, is the thing that I got really comfortable with was the structure of our defense. So like, for example, when Jim Haslett was here, it was a 3-4 odd structure, right? So like you got the nose, the 4 eyes, the 9s on the outside. And so I knew the exact calls versus that stuff. And so when you got to a 4 down, like what were the calls? Is this an overfront? Is this an underfront? Are there 2-3 techniques? Like what's the insertion path? Because you see that same pattern or you see the same structures all the time. So it kind of gets you as a coach or you as a veteran player, a joint practice is what I'm talking about, to see different stuff. So like, let's say I'm running a seam versus single high and our team's a single high team. Like I've run that rep 400 times in training camp, but now all of a sudden it's a 2 high team or it's a quarters team. And now my routes,
or they just run their single high differently. Like they bend coverages in a different way.
Correct. And so like, that's where this stuff becomes super important and it's like sneaky important. And so like as a player, I always felt really uncomfortable in joint practices, partially because it was so new and I didn't have the comfort level and familiarity, but it's good for the coaches and the front office to see how people handle that variety.
Definitely. And because ultimately your job wasn't to be able to block Ryan Kerrigan.
Correct.
Your job was to be able to block whoever's across from you. And that's going to change week to week in the NFL. And so you have that opportunity to see, okay, Trey Amos is playing great against the Commanders wide receivers. How much of that is particular matchups or the quality of the Commanders wide receivers? And we can talk about that more in detail a little bit later. But it's stuff like that. And then I think the other point that you made that I want to really double click on here and go into a little bit more depth of why it's so valuable to have these joint practices versus the preseason game is you are not at the mercy of the randomness of a football game.
Correct.
Because you could have, we're going to play the offense one drive, but there's a weird tipped ball off a guy's helmet, and now we're going out for a second drive because there's an interception, or a guy just dropped the ball in open space and there's a fumble. Obviously, if you want to get situational work, you're not going to play your offense for a drive, pull them out, and hope you get a 2-minute at the end of the half, and then put them back in for the 2-minute. Like, that's just not how you do things. Like, once you're out, you're out. A lot of those guys go and take the pads off. So the fact that you're able to get the situational work, and especially when we know that's something that Quinn values at an extraordinarily high level, you can get it ones-on-ones. You can engineer what you want and then be competitive. And like you said, do all of that with the safety of Jaden Daniels in a yellow safety jersey, as opposed to having him out there and exposed to the elements.
And I think the other thing too, kind of to piggyback off of that I haven't really experienced until I started coaching high school football, and they have these like preseason scrimmages, is it lets you see kind of if this new thing you're trying works, right? So like, let's say I want to bring a new pressure, I want a new, side adjust on the perimeter for the offense, or I'm trying a new run, and it's killing our defense, right? Because our offensive line really knows how to block it versus defense, or it's killing our defense because, like we understand how Cliff Kingsbury calls the protections. And then all of a sudden we go up to, New England, we call it and it gets stuffed. And it's like, oh, maybe this wasn't as good as we thought, or, oh, I didn't think that they could do this. Like, let me get on the whiteboard and like rule this out. So I do think like that stuff is also really important, because I'll tell you, like I played in a bunch of probably, now that I'm thinking about it, like almost 40 preseason games in my career. And one of the things is that the game plan's never complicated. Even in the third preseason game, or the old third preseason game, now the second preseason game where the starters are playing, it's not complicated. So, and I'm not going to show the good stuff. I'm going to keep all that stuff close to my vest. But now I can, like, Joe Witt Jr. can throw that pressure and be like, oh, they blocked this differently. They got in a full slide. Like, what do we want to rule out here? So, or how do we want to rule our blitzes versus a full slide, as an example? So I think that stuff, again, just letting you do more stuff, letting you kind of explore the offense more, get ahead of that curve a little bit, is super, super critical for these joint practices. And again, as a player, I despise them. I couldn't stand them. But as a coach, as an evaluator, as an analyst, it helps with all, like, giving context to everything you're doing offensively and defensively.
Why couldn't you stand them? Was it just like you were someone who learned quickly and could take advantage of the repetitive nature of it, and there was a randomness that it was like, oh, I am not in control anymore?
I think that's probably part of it, for sure. Like, that's actually, now that you mentioned, I had never really been that self-reflective, honestly, but that for sure was why. Because I could pick up the defense really well. I knew the coverages. I'd actually study the installs from last year. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be that ahead of it. So it's kind of psycho stuff, but I was trying to make the team, so I'm not going to.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. Just real quick, because Will Compton was the same way. Like, he would get the installs and know it was coming, and then it was really easy for him to play middle linebacker because he was shooting fish in a barrel, but he was trying to make the team, and I kind of respect the resourcefulness there as opposed to playing it straight.
Yeah, and so, like, I could do that. But also, I think the thing that I found most frustrating about joint practices is the tempo. Like, what is the tempo of practice? Like, when you're practicing with your team, you know the tempo. I understand this is how this person's going to go. This is how I'm going to go. They know that. And then when I get to a new team and I'm going through the whistle like I do in practice, everyone gets irritated. Everyone gets pissed off, right? Or you get a guy like in a walkthrough drill. Like, I remember doing this with Houston. Like, we were doing kickoff, and it was supposed to be live special teams to kind of get reps, but the wedge was dead. And I was like, okay. So, like, we did our reps. We kind of locked arms and ran in, and no one got hit in the wedge. And then our group went, and somebody didn't hear that they were dead if they went to the wedge, and freaking annihilated, like straight harpooned somebody in the wedge. And everyone got mad, but I was like, I don't want to be that guy getting harpooned. Like, when I'm expecting you to stop, like, so there's always this anxiety in these periods, because, like, this one's live, this one's not. We're tackling the ground here, we're not tackling here. The practice structure changed a little bit, and that kind of uncertainty, like, not of the personnel or the scheme, but of how hard are we going? Right. And I was talking to Ken about it. It's like, this is not a game. It's a practice, but you're another team. So this feels like it should be a game. It's like, like a racehorse. It's like, you can't, like, just jog a racehorse out. Like, they're going to sprint, right? They're going to run the lap as fast as they can. And so now it's like you're asking that racehorse to be in between sprint and walk, and they haven't really practiced that. And that's how I felt oftentimes in those joint practices. And I think that's oftentimes why you get these big fights, because you get these guys together, and it's like the tempo is not clearly defined. The coaches aren't abiding by the tempo. And then all of a sudden it's like my favorite example, when Houston came up here, I remember the first day of joint practice, we kind of got after them a little bit. Like, we ran the ball well. We completed every ball. Like, we had a really good day. And then Jay had said that he had talked to Bill O'Brien, and Bill O'Brien said, it doesn't matter about winning the day. We're not going to worry about that. But they were on Hard Knocks. So 2 weeks later, you see Bill O'Brien in the training camp being like, this is nonsense. You guys are terrible. Like, he didn't say those words. He was a little bit more.
He used the HBO language.
And you guys got your butts kicked. So the next day they come out and they lay one on us, right? And so I was like, man. And so we go into the meeting, and then all of a sudden Jay's saying, oh, they beat your butt, whatever. And then so that third day is an absolute like atomic
bomb, which is why nobody does 3 days of joint practices anymore.
Yeah, right. Because it's like one and done, man. If you didn't get it done, we're moving on. So, but again, like that's where like I talked to Dan about this the other day for our pre-practice interview, and he's like, you got to trust the other coach, right? You got to trust that their messaging is going to be the same as your messaging. You're trying to get the same thing out of it. Because if somebody's trying to win the day, you're gonna let a bunch of alpha males out on the field, and they're gonna do alpha male stuff, and you're gonna get a huge brawl, and that's not productive for anybody.
Yeah, I think you have to approach it with like, hey, we're trying to win the day, and it's okay if they win the day too. We are trying to get stuff out of it. There is no scoreboard. It's practice. The goal is to get better, and then pray that is actually how that plays out. The joint practice fights, everyone knows they're coming. That's why you typically now don't even see 2 days. Like you just see the 1 day. I mean, I was there for the Jets practices in 2018, where the fight like started kind of on the left side of the field, like left hash, and it's kind of coming towards us, and we're on, and so it's like moving towards the hill where the fans are in Richmond, as you remember the Richmond setup down there. And so the media, we're all kind of watching it, and we're like, time to start moving. Everybody pick up their chairs. They're coming our way. Trent Williams is trying to punch people. I don't need to be anywhere near that. And moving out of the way. But that one was scary in part because it spilled over into the crowd. And it's like, you're getting up on, it's like, hey, everybody move. Football players are punching each other in the head. Dudes swinging helmets. There was one player whose identity I will keep private because I don't think I was supposed to know this, but he absolutely smashed a fridge to pieces after he was dragged off the field. Got to see a good photo of the broken Gatorade fridge after that. I think I don't know whether he punched it or he smashed a helmet through it, but it was carnage. But yeah, like dudes get upset because you're out there being super competitive. And if you're not in agreement, and I think that point that you made about why you don't like the practices also leads directly to the fights, right? It's like, if you're a competitor and you agree, especially two football players, like y'all compete and bash each other's heads in all the time.
Right.
As long as you agree that that's what the terms are, that's fine. But if dude's expecting like a C level of physicality and you bring a B, that's going to cause some beef, and hopefully they can avoid that. Do they have a special meeting? We made this joke on the radio show yesterday, Logan, but I will bring this joke that maybe isn't a joke to you. Do they bring a special meeting or hold a special meeting with Marshawn Lattimore to emphasize the no fighting, especially with Stephon Diggs?
I don't think so. I think it's just a general meeting. Like if I'm Dan, I'm going to address it. Like, because every year we had a joint meeting about every year that I did a joint practice, you have a meeting like, hey, fights won't be tolerated. You miss a day of practice, like all those kind of things. And I remember with the Patriots, like Bill Belichick, like he gave the speech. He brought both teams up and like gave a speech. Like we were all New England Patriots, and like there were times where like I really wanted to fight in that practice because they were doing stuff that I didn't think was very fair. And it was funny talking to the New England guys because they were like, oh yeah, this is every day. It's a defensive driven team. Like a great example, I was talking to Tan about, he remembers this a little bit too. It's 7-on-7 and they would bring 2 extra guys over. So now it's 9-on-7. So as the tight end in a 3-point stance, the outside linebacker would just, instead of rushing the passer or stopping the run, would literally just like jam or press you right in the shoulder, and you'd have to rip through it. And then the middle linebacker, who was Devontae Hightower, would come over, and it was like a clean earshot to your face. You know what I mean? And so would smash between these 2 guys. So the 2 inside routes are dead, right? And then the outside guys was like Browner and some other guy, and it was just PI. The refs would throw flags. It'd be pass interference. And the next play would be exactly the same thing. So 7-on-7 was nothing. So you're like, I want to fight everybody here, but you're like, I don't want to miss practice either. You know what I'm saying? So like getting that cleared up, I think is also helpful. But yeah,
so you went and drop kicked Bill Belichick. So that was the solution.
I have a definitive memory of running like power load later in practice on the same day. And I have never in my career blocked power load as hard as I blocked this play. It was like basically like I was the wing player and I'm blocking back to the backside inside linebacker. And I didn't even look at the defensive end. I just sprinted as hard as I could and ear-holed this poor linebacker, who's probably like a undrafted free agent, and just decleated him. And no one said anything to me. But I was like, this is my fight today. I don't know who you are, but you just wore every bit of frustration that I had from this practice today. And the last.
Do you have the film from that?
I don't know. No, I don't have it, but I probably could track it down.
I would like that. If you can track that down, I just want you to send that to me. I'm going to get a Logan Paulson text message, one attachment video, and I'm just going to start jumping up and down on the couch. I want to see Logan earhole some UDFA. Then I want to figure out who it is, and then we'll have him on the podcast.
Want more from Craig and Logan? Subscribe now on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. More Hoffman Show next on the Team 980 and the free Odyssey app.
Hour number 2 of the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980, always live on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio as well. And yes, that is us streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. The way we do things on this show is we try to tackle the top stories of the day here at 5 o'clock. We do so with an expert who covers them. We call it Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
This time of year, he's here, he's there, he's every bloody where. Mike Jones, senior NFL writer for The Athletic. Mike, where are you today on presumably a training camp journey?
I just got back from Jacksonville yesterday. I was in Tampa before that the last couple of days, so I'm catching my breath a little bit, unloading the notebook, and then I'll head over to Pittsburgh next week.
So plenty on the docket, plenty already done. I do want to ask you about the Travis Hunter, Jacksonville stuff, what you saw there in a second. But there's actually like a decent amount of news that's just come trickling out over the last hour and change or so. So let's start with the one that I think actually matters for the regular season the most, and that's the Jordan Addison suspension. How big of a deal is that for the Vikings, especially with J.J. McCarthy taking over the reins there? Like, they still have Justin Jefferson. Like, that's great. But part of that, what makes that offense special, is the two of them. So how big of a deal is it for basically a rookie quarterback to be missing Jordan Addison these first 3 games?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's 3 games, but in the NFL, like, every game matters. And so because you have a young guy, you want to have him surrounded with as much support as possible. And so you're not going to have that weapon. Now, the good thing for them is that Justin Jefferson commands so much attention that it should create opportunities for other people, but their offense, the options for J.J. McCarthy would just be that much more plentiful for him. And so, yeah, he already was going to be in for some growing pains as, it comes out the gates. And so now it's just going to be a little more challenging.
How good, just, real quick before we leave the Vikings, like, how good do you think they're going to be this year? That division was nasty last year, and Darnold obviously had a career year. How good do you think the Vikings can be in 2025?
I think they take a step backwards, just because they've got a first-year quarterback who's he's going to be learning on the go. It's not like he got a bunch of practice reps going against their starters running the scout team last year. So he was basically watching. Mike Shanahan used to always talk about mental reps, and yes, they're helpful, but physically doing it is another thing. And so I think they might take a little bit of a step backwards. They did load up around him. He's got a quality offensive line. They bolstered their defensive line. But again, they're growing pains. And I think that the Packers are going to be a little bit better this year. It'll be curious to see what the Lions are, not having lost Ben Johnson, having lost Aaron Glenn. They got a new offense coordinator, new defense coordinator. And so the continuity, is it going to be a seamless transition? I don't know. So that could help the Vikings. But I think for them, they have their own growing pains to worry about, and they'll probably take a little bit of a little regression.
Lions have already taken on some injuries as well. Didn't think it could get worse for them after last year, but they've already taken on a couple of knocks. Mike Jones, senior NFL writer for The Athletic, with us here on the Hoffman Show. So you were just down in Jacksonville. The unofficial depth charts, which is every sports writer and sports radio host's favorite thing to mock, but they came out yesterday across the league. And the Jags list Travis Hunter as a wide receiver starting, a cornerback on the 2 line. Do you think that is what he will actually be this season? And what were your impressions of seeing him on an NFL field in person?
Yeah, I tell you, as far as crisp route running, the ability to go up and get a contested balls, very impressive. He was practicing as a wide receiver when I was there. The way they're doing it, the first couple weeks training camp, he would have like 2 days of a wide receiver, because they said it takes more time to get on the same page, get that chemistry with your quarterback. And then anytime there was a break in practice, if there was a water break, if it was a special team segment, he was over on another field working with the defensive backs coach on how to react to certain pass routes. They had offensive and defensive assistants running pass routes, and he was like having to identify which one would be his responsibility. So he's still getting work. And then on the 3rd day, he would practice exclusively as a defensive back. Now, they had a scrimmage, a inter-squad scrimmage, and he did play both ways. And I sat down with Liam Cohen, and he said next week he's going to start practicing offense and defense on the same day rather than splitting it up. So for right now, yes, he has gotten more action as a wide receiver. In the plan, and in that scrimmage, it was more so when they had 4 receiver sets or a third down or goal line situation where he came in. But they're going to continue to monitor this thing. Liam Cohen said it's really kind of a science experiment. They're tracking his speed, his pace, his calories. They don't want him losing weight. They want him gaining some more weight. They have all these different little metrics that they're studying with this, but they hope that he can be a guy that has a kind of an equal workload as far as offense and defense, as the season progresses.
Mike, I think that's really interesting to hear because one of my big questions as someone who used to be on a beat and kind of understands the rhythms of an NFL workday is like, I never had any doubt he could do it as an athlete. It's just like, how do you divide your time? Like you can't be in 2 meetings at once and you have meetings that are happening simultaneously because you don't need to be in the offensive and the defensive meeting unless you're maybe the head coach. But now you got a player that's got to be in both. You can't double practice. And so logistically, I just feel like there's the old school football mentality would have been like, we're not doing this because it can't work. And what I appreciate and what I would be curious to hear more about is the ways in which the Jags were like, well, it can work if we make it work. Like, we're going to invest extra time and extra people and extra resources into this one player. And do you have any other tidbits, details, stories about how the Jags are doing that to make this incredibly rare and unique talent worth taking with that high of a draft pick?
Yeah, it really has meant more work for everybody involved because, like you said, you can't be in an offense and a defensive meeting at the same time. And so if he's in an offensive meeting, after that meeting, he has to get with the defensive coach, and they have to go over everything that he needs to know. If he's in a defensive meeting, he needs to go and meet with the offensive guy. So Liam said that because I asked, like, hey, what's the biggest curveball that's been thrown to you as a first-year head coach? Because sometimes they're like, there's an injury or whatever. He's like, basically Travis Hunter. I mean, it's a curveball that we like, but it's totally different than anywhere or anything we've ever done before because of what we have to take into account. And so he said there is no downtime for Travis Hunter. He's never able to just sit in the locker room and play air hockey or pool or whatever they have in their locker room with his buddies. If he's not in one meeting, he's in another meeting. And if he's not in any of those meetings, he's meeting with the trainers and their sports science people and the dietitians. And, he's just got a ton of work. But they said that for him, it's just what he's used to, and he's not complaining about it. He's just like, okay, this is. But for them, it's adapting and adjusting and figuring out how to make it all work.
Mike Jones from The Athletic with us here on the Hoffman Show. Of course, Travis's former teammate, Shedeur Sanders, got a lot of headlines, not a lot of reps so far in Cleveland until, Mike, it was announced 20 minutes ago, he's going to start the preseason opener for Cleveland. Obviously, it's been, a somewhat comical training camp for them so far at the quarterback position because everyone's like, oh, how are they going to do this with 4 wide at the quarterback position? And then they had so many guys banged up, they actually had to sign a 5th quarterback, Snoop Huntley, to take on some extra reps. So what's kind of how do you handicap what's going on in Cleveland? Is it kind of what we're hearing, do you think, just default to Joe Flacco starting and everything else is, for talk show fodder, or is there more substance of what's going on in that building right now?
No, I think because, look, this roster is in win now mode. They have a lot of veterans, especially on the defense side of the ball, that want to win now. And I think they feel like Joe Flacco is the guy that's going to give them the most chance to do that right away. But that does not mean that if Shedeur Sanders looks really good throughout the preseason and his workload increases, that he won't wind up taking over as that starter. But for right now, they really are making him earn this thing. There were a couple days ago, he didn't get any team reps. And then, the day before that, he got some first team reps, got some second team reps. So it's just been a little bit all over the place as far as what his workload is. And, we'll see how it plays out. But for right now, it does sound like it's Flacco, and we'll see how effective he can be at this, late stage in his career.
All right, Mike, we've gone 10 minutes, and that's just so we could prove we could do it. It is possible to talk about the NFL for more than 10 minutes without talking about the trades and the requests and the contracts. And obviously, it's the most important story here, but I wanted to get to other stuff with you. But we land on Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
I'll just ask you broadly, where do you sit right now with where this negotiation is and really, as someone who's been around this stuff for a long time, where it should go?
I mean, I have to think that they're going to wind up getting something done. I have real questions about the advice he's getting, questions about the capability of his agent. What took him so long to demand a trade? Why didn't you do this sooner? And then really put pressure on him? You're in the building and you've said you want to be here and everything. And then now it's, so we'll see how this plays out. But again, they know they need him. I asked a lot of guys around the league, talent evaluators, what they thought of him. And a lot of them say, you know what, he's good, he's talented, but nobody had him in the top 5. They had him more in that 7 to 12 range as a wide receiver. So, those guys don't get $33 million a year. And so we'll see what the number that they settle on. I think it winds up being somewhere maybe in that 28 to 30 range, and 30 might be kind of high, but eventually they've got to get this thing done. They need to find a way to end it, and they need him on the field because if you're trying to help Jaden Daniels take another step forward, that's why you went out and got Deebo Samuel so you could pair him with Terry. And, I think he's probably worth a little more in Washington than he is elsewhere. And so they got to find a way to get it done.
Yeah, no, the 28 to 30 range and everything you said sounds exactly right. It's where I'm at too. How much credence do you give, and to anyone that you've talked to this around the league especially, how much do you give to like they have the money, just do it? Not necessarily at like the 33 million level, but let's say they get closer to like the 28 to 30 is the size of the argument. And you're Washington and you look at your cap sheet and you go, like, yeah, we need to pay Tunsil and Lattimore potentially next year, and a couple of other guys. Payne potentially could get an extension, but like we have oodles of cap room. Do you give credence, and do you think if you talk to other evaluators around the league and other general managers, contract people around the league, they give credence to this guy's been a great guy, he's one of our team leaders, let's just get it done, we have the room argument?
Well, I haven't asked people what they think Washington's salary cap situation is, but I think it probably, in addition to, the average year, number per year, I think that the guarantees also have a lot to do with it. And yeah, Washington has the money to pay him 28 to 30 million, but is he wanting fully guaranteed or 90% guaranteed? And Washington's like, man, you're almost 30. You're going to be 30 to fully guarantee a deal for a guy that's, that could be part of it as well. So yeah, they've got to figure it out. They've got to be creative, but again, they need him. He needs them. They've got to just figure out a way to do it that suits everybody. And I think once the crunch time, look, here we are. They haven't even played their first preseason game. Right. They would like to have it done. They don't really need to have it done. Right. And so if they, this thing, they've got, one more week in the preseason or maybe 2 weeks left, then you hopefully see them get it done so that way he has some time to get on the field and get real work in before the season starts.
All right, 2 more quick questions here from Mike Jones, senior NFL writer for The Athletic. First of all, do you think anything dramatic happens with Micah? Are the two sides going to bicker and then he's going to get a big fat contract because Jerry Jones is a bad negotiator and always gives the player what he wants, and Micah Parsons is going to be the most expensive non-quarterback in football in 2 weeks, and that's that?
Yeah, this is Jerry Jones' soap opera. This is what he loves. He loves that everybody's talking about them. He doesn't care that it's, dysfunctional or that it just is chaotic. He loves being talked to. He loves reporters asking him what's going on. He loves the back and forth, even though it looks ridiculous. And so, and it's frustrating players, CeeDee Lamb, tweeting and expressing his frustrations over the whole thing. And so, yeah, Jerry's going to do what he's going to do, and eventually he'll open up the checkbooks just for the start of the season, and Mike is going to get what he wants. And, yes, he will be the highest paid defensive player, and the Cowboys will, get back to focusing on football.
Never forget that Dak Prescott could have signed an extension 2 years early. The only thing that was significant that happened between when he could have and when he did was his ankle turned the wrong way, and then he became the most expensive quarterback in football. Just that is the quintessential Jerry Jones negotiation, as you, Mike, of course, know. But my last question for you, Mike, is kind of roping this all together, the James Cook and all of that, Trey Hendrickson as well. As the hold-in has become more popular, as players are avoiding what was negotiated in the CBA is mandatory fines, right? So that was the thing.
Right.
It's like you used to be able to negotiate away the fines. Now you can't, and players were like, aha, if I show up, you can't fine me. I'm just not going to practice. Do you think that this is something, the contract holdouts and the way that players are going about this, that will be addressed in the next CBA negotiations, or is it just not that big of a deal and this is kind of how business is going to be done for the foreseeable future in the NFL?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, we're still a little ways off. They probably won't start. I mean, they've got a mess over there at the NFLPA, so nobody's even thinking about having preliminary talks about this CBA. They probably won't start having conversations till 27 or, maybe 2028. And it's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure the players would like to get this thing removed, but the owners are not going to be inclined to give something back to the players. They're always trying to take away, not, give something back. So I would not be surprised if this is just the way of business now. You show up, they can't make you practice. It's, and the players know, hey, it's just business. The coaches know it's just business. I don't know if it's that much more effective than not being there. Some people feel like, hey, if you're there and every day there's the reminder in your face that, oh, he's not practicing, he's just kind of, over on the other field, and so we really need to get something done. But I don't know if it really makes that much of a difference with them, but it's going to be interesting to see, where this goes as far as the hold-ins versus holdouts. It's always fascinating NFL business.
It definitely is. And I sometimes wonder if it works in the opposite way, right? If you're a guy like Terry and you love your teammates genuinely, and you really want to be out there, when you're there, it's like, damn, they're right there. My ankle could feel better. And instead, you could be out, working out on your own somewhere else and feeling a little more animus about it. Mike Jones writing about all of this and more. Definitely want to read up on what he saw down there in Jacksonville amongst his other notebook emptyings along the way of his training camp tour at The Athletic. Mike, always appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Craig. I'll see you, man.
Sounds good. Mike Jones, everybody, senior NFL writer for The Athletic. And to follow up on that real quick, I think that it is something the NFL, from a league side, Mike took it from the PA side. If you're the PA, I think you're like, yeah, we figured out the workaround. If you're the league, the whole point was like, we're trying to get you guys to honor your contracts. And so if you're the league, I wonder if there is a way to prevent the hold-in. Like if you show up, you must practice unless our doctors evaluate you and say X, like if you can't pass your physical. Again, I don't know how severe, and like this is the thing with Terry, right? It's like Terry has some level of an ankle injury. Like it's not a totally fake ankle injury. Is it one that he might return from faster if he had a contract? Sure, but there is some real ankle injury that is somewhere in his ankle, right? Micah Parsons is just flat out not practicing. James Cook is just like James Cook was practicing, then was like, never mind, I'm not practicing anymore. And so if you're there and you're not participating and it's not a coach's decision, there seems like there's probably some way to get that not to be okay. And so I wonder, as the league and owners try to leverage stuff, but if I'm the Players Association, I'm fighting back being like, well, there is a simple way to do this. You guarantee our contracts, because if it's not guaranteed money, then I'm not really inclined to show up and play. Like, yes, if I play, I get paid. But I think the reason people also sometimes get in a tizzy about that is if you have a contract that's only guaranteed for injury and so let's say this isn't the case with Terry, but this is the case with some of the other players that we're talking about. Let's say you're guaranteed for injury in 2026. And so what that means is if you can't pass your physical by the time 2026 rolls around, you get your money. If you can pass the physical, then they can cut you based off performance. So if you blow out your knee and you're genuinely out for an extra year, okay, that is going to be, you get your money. But if let's say you get hurt during the season and you miss a couple of games, your production suffers, you're not quite right when you get back. Now you've hurt your value. Now you're probably not seen as worth as much money. So now you get cut technically for performance, but even though you know your performance was because of injury, there's no delineation there. If the money was guaranteed, it wouldn't be a problem. So are you less inclined to come back? Are you more inclined to come back and push through? Like, it winds up affecting the conversation in a way that's got some unintended consequences. And I think without the guaranteed contracts also have unintended consequences. Like, you have to pay a ton of, if you're the Browns, you guaranteed Deshaun Watson's contract like an absolute group of buffoons. And now he's on top of all the terrible things and the bad press and the bad whatever that he brought, bad play that he brought. He's injured. He can't play. And you owe him every single cent of the $230 million. So like that can happen. But that's how it is in every sport. The Bucks had to stretch and wave Dame Lillard because he blew out his Achilles, right? So every system has its ups and its downs. But if you're thinking about how do we prevent holdouts, the reason they don't happen in other sports is because you can't renegotiate contracts in other sports the way you do all the time in the NFL, because most other sports have mostly guaranteed contracts. The NBA, you see this sometimes because there are partial guarantees and non-guaranteed deals that sometimes get turned and converted and flipped. But generally speaking, that's why you see this in the NFL more than others, is because even the best players on the biggest deals typically have funny money years at the end to inflate the value and stretch the cap proration of the signing bonus to help it be a little bit more team friendly. But that also gives the team control in those final years in a way that players don't really like. And if they feel like they've outperformed, then they're going to ask in those years to be treated accordingly. And that's where you get into the tiffs and the arguments that we are seeing around the league right now. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, the Athletics are at the Nationals tonight. And Anthony, can you real quick, just on one of the computers in front of you, I want you to just search Nationals Athletics on Google. And I want you to see what you notice. See, because you'll get some sponsored ads. Nationals versus A's is what I searched. You get some ads for some tickets. And then there's the big black Google box with the game tonight. And what's it say?
I see Nationals versus Athletics predictions odds. You said a big black box.
Yeah, there's like a box. It's got a black heading, Athletics versus Nationals, MLB today, 6:45 p.m.
Yep, I
above
see that.
the top stories. What's it say? What's in the first, like, right below today, 6:45?
It just says Athletics.
And then it says at
Washington Nationals.
Yeah, see how there's no city in front of Athletics?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about with Damon Amendolara next. Greg Hoffman Show, Team 980, always live on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio as well. We're streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. What are the 6 biggest questions heading into the Commanders' joint practices with the New England Patriots? Actually, joint practice. It's just one tomorrow. That question, or those questions, we will present to you in draft format because it's a sports talk radio show. And what can't we do in a draft format? Anthony and I will go back and forth with our biggest questions coming up at 6 o'clock. Pick 6 style. 6:30, we will talk about the Mystics' big trade today ahead of their game tonight against Chicago. Right now, though, it is our pleasure to welcome back to the program a great friend, one of my truly great friends, and not just a friend of the program, Damon Mendelara, host of the DA Show, Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Mad Dog Radio to be specific. Damon, hello, my friend.
What's up, Hoff? How we doing?
I am doing well. Better than an athletics fan, you might say, to smoothly transition into our topic of conversation. Did you know, DA, that if you search a game, like, for instance, A's versus Nationals in Google, it will just say Athletics versus Washington Nationals, that they don't even bother to put a city name in front of Athletics?
Oh, I'm well aware of this, Hoff. This is part of the heist of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, allowing an owner that has never deserved the revenue sharing he has earned, has never deserved the free lease that he got or the free release that he got out of Oakland, to be in the middle of this ridiculous relocation and not have a home, so much so that none of their apparel says Sacramento, none of their jerseys or caps reference Sacramento outside of a little patch. And now, as you know, if you look at their team name in any box score, any newspaper, any online account, anywhere, it does not say Sacramento. It does not say Las Vegas. It just says Athletics. That's how pitiful this whole thing is.
I decided, I use this as a descriptor, but this could be the city name too. And the graphic that is on our screen right now on YouTube, it says Homeless Athletics visiting Nationals this week. So that kind of sums it up. DA, how is the Sacramento, and for those that don't know, to back it up and bring the audience in here that is like, what is going on right now? Damon has been all over this story since the Athletics announced that they were leaving Oakland. They could never reach a deal with the city, but that is a long and complicated and very oversimplified explanation of what happened there. And as DA has described, like, this team was basically stolen from the Bay, from Oakland, is temporarily in Sacramento, is eventually heading to Las Vegas. How is the for those that, like me, who have not paid attention to this at all, but then wake up today and are like, oh yeah, the A's are in town. How is the Sacramento leg of this journey going?
Poorly, to be expected. Poorly. I mean, it's not because Sacramento's a sports city, because we know how much they support the Kings and how they fought to keep the Kings when it looked like they might relocate a couple of years ago because they didn't have a new arena. And they rallied and they got the new arena, and that could be a really good sports town when necessary. But they know that they have a bunch of carpetbaggers in town who are just a layover station. And so there's apathy, great apathy. And as is kind of like defined by this franchise and this ownership, they immediately alienated the local fans. So they're going to be in Sacramento for 3 years, maybe more, depending on how long the timeline goes and getting a stadium built in Las Vegas or whatever ends up happening off the back end of this. And you'd think that being there 3 years, you'd want to rally a little bit of support because you're going to need them for at least a couple of seasons. This isn't a one-season deal. Well, like we just talked about, they do not have Sacramento in their name. When they sold apparel at the team shop in the stadium, they're playing, by the way, at a AAA stadium this year, the Sacramento Rivercat Stadium, and for the next couple of years. They do not have anything that said Sacramento on it when they open things up. So you have local fans searching for something that says, you are here in my city, and they refuse to print any of those. And what they did was they overpriced the ticket in the off season so that local season ticket holders paid a premium. As the A's sold it, it'll be the hardest ticket in Major League Baseball because we're going to be in a minor league baseball stadium. Well, as you might imagine, it wasn't all that hard of a ticket. And by the second series of the season, they'd slashed prices at half the rate that season ticket holders had bought it. And I know this personally, not only through a news story, but I have a close friend out there that is in Sacramento, and he's a huge baseball fan, and he bought season tickets with family friends. and realized, oh, my God, we got gouged before the season even began, basically. And so they just created a lot of antagonism throughout the entire fan base. They're also not good. You have members of the team openly criticizing, like Luis Severino, how poor the home facility is and how it feels like it's all road games and minor league facilities. And it's just one big joke yet again.
Damon Amendolara, Sirius XM, satellite radio, Mad Dog Radio mornings. You can check him out 6 to 9 a.m. with us here on the Hoffman Show. Again, the A's facing the Nats tonight at 6:45 at Nats Park. You know, their home ballpark where games are supposed to be played. Has there been any, I won't say reaction, but any reactivity by the organization or Major League Baseball to all of this? Like, you have been incredibly outspoken about this, and you have caused quite a ruckus holding events in Oakland, et cetera, and you are not the only one. There are fans in Oakland that have caused quite a bit of stir. Like, there's been a lot of public outcry. Has there been any reaction by Major League Baseball or the organization to say, like, hey, we're at least trying? Or are they just pretending like everything's hunky-dory? They're just waiting out the storm till the team moves to Vegas and they hope things are smooth sailing from there?
Minimal. As I said, they didn't have Sacramento on any apparel in the team shop. Eventually, by June, they had some things that were printed Sacramento. But, I mean, those are minimal, small gestures. What has happened here and why I'm so upset about this is because you have a billionaire owner who never earned a dime of that. John Fisher's the owner of the A's. Mommy and Daddy created a little thing called the Gap Apparel Company. And so he inherited hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more, from Mom and Dad, and then that's what he bought the franchise with. And he has never invested a dime in anything. Forget the stadium. We know that Oakland Coliseum was crumbling. But he never invested a dime in the roster. He never re-signed a free agent. He never signed a free agent. They had all these great young homegrown talents that just left, and he never offered them a dime. And he allowed, interest and passion in their fan base to totally erode. So it's this great sleight of hand that a billionaire has allowed or been allowed by another, by the other cabal of billionaires to just steal revenue sharing and then blame it on the fans saying, why doesn't anybody care about my baseball team? Well, you have a hand in that. And so what Major League Baseball has done was they saw that it was scorched earth in Oakland because fans realized the con that was happening and wanted to get to Las Vegas come hell or high water. And so they allowed, and this is the greatest heist of them all, is that Las Vegas could command a pretty penny as an expansion franchise, no doubt about it. And that would be $1 billion expansion fee. If when a team moves, like the Expos moved to D.C., there's a relocation fee, and that would be in the range of $600 million or so, let's say, a relocation fee. They didn't even charge John Fisher a relocation fee because he doesn't have the money, because either he doesn't have it or he won't spend it. And so baseball has allowed him to leave scot-free. And so what this is, it's an assisted theft. That baseball wants to be in the market of Las Vegas, and so they have allowed a franchise that burned every bridge possible in Oakland to leave and assisted them in doing so just to get them there. And, what league allows a way station for 3 years in a minor league baseball stadium? It's utterly insane. But baseball has allowed this. So it's just total criminality, which is why I speak out about it so much. And in terms of public gestures, the only public gestures are happening in Las Vegas, where Rob Manfred likes to, insist, everything's great. They've got the financing. We can't wait to be there. And we'll see if that ends up happening. That's also a question mark into itself. But, the problem with Hoff is that both you and I work in an industry that is football heavy. And if this were happening in the NFL, there would be a far bigger outcry. If it was happening in the NBA, there might be a far bigger outcry. But because it's happening in baseball, most national loud voices shrug their shoulders and don't get invested in it. And so it's allowed to happen under cover of night. And so the pushback that you get, from the local people in Oakland or people like me, is met with, like you said, we'll just wait out the storm.
Well, the other thing about it, too, you mentioned the NBA and the NFL. Minor league anything, it feels like it would be Adam Silver or Roger Goodell's worst nightmare. like the idea that they aren't the biggest, the best, the brightest, like part of being, and as someone who has covered women's sports for a long time, like I've seen this evolution happen there where the acceptance of low standards has gone away, and you're seeing the NWSL and the WNBA not play in these college, like mid-major college level or amateur level arenas, and that even like the Mystics here for now are playing in the entertainment and sports arena, or now Care First Arena, and it's a smaller arena, but like it's still professional. It's not like you don't walk in there and go like, oh, this is an amateur gym. It's just smaller in terms of capacity, and part of that is construction at the big arena that's going to be done in a couple of years. But the idea that the NBA or the NFL specifically, those two leagues, would allow a game of theirs to be played in an amateur arena is so laughably unfathomable that I literally can't think of it happening. And here is Major League Baseball not even letting it happen for a one-off, but endorsing it for 3 years. That's crazy.
Right. And, there was those couple of seasons where U.S. Bank was being built in Minneapolis and the Vikings had to play at the University of Minnesota Stadium. And remember how weird and JV and amateur that kind of felt? But it was out of necessity because the Vikings weren't going to move and they were going to get this gleaming palace done, and the league knew that.
Right, and it was still like
Vikings,
a Big Ten football stadium that is like it wasn't a bandbox. They weren't playing in 20,000. I mean, the closest I would say is when the Chargers moved from San Diego, they did play in the LA Galaxy Stadium. I went to a game there because the Commanders played there, and I was on the beat. That was, and like the weirdness of that was crazy, like a 27,000 seat. But I can't think of any other example of that where it's like we are playing in a smaller, less professional. Check all of the boxes like that.
Well, that's right, and that's a really good comp as well. But both the Galaxy Stadium, and my point was the Galaxy Stadium or the Minnesota Stadium were both relatively new facilities. This is just a AAA ballpark that has a grass berm in the outfield. This is nothing special, and those two places were where local fans could go to watch the game. In this case, baseball is opting for an amateur experience in a place that will not house the permanent location of the franchise. So baseball should have either said, if you're going to go to Las Vegas, you got to play in Las Vegas at their minor league stadium. Or if you're going to go to Las Vegas and play outdoors in 120-degree heat, you better put a canopy on it, at least temporarily. Or stay in Oakland and play those 3 years out until your ballpark is built. And when you saw the last homestand in Oakland last September, they filled the joint. It's not like there weren't fans that would want to go to those games. But what has happened is they have actively tried to combat local interest in the A's so that they had the guise of moving. And so this whole thing is, again, such a sleight of hand. It's such a three-card Monte. And that the solution was 3 years in a minor league baseball stadium in a city that they won't play in is utterly absurd.
It's ridiculous. Damon Amendola, Mad Dog Radio, with us here on the Hoffman Show. So if you want to go boo the A's tonight, you can do that at Nats Park. First pitch is an hour from now. Real quick before you go, DA, I am legally actually not allowed to let you off the phone. Your phone, if you tried to hang up on me, it would actually call me back automatically if I didn't ask you about Terry McLaurin. That's how sports radio works in DC these days. I don't know if you knew that. So you're watching the situation from the outside. What's your take on where these negotiations are, what you've heard about it, and kind of which side you're on, if you are taking a side in the McLaurin Commanders ongoing discussions?
I mean, look, both sides have a case. Has Terry McLaurin outpaced his current contract by the values of Jamar Chase's deal and Justin Jefferson's deal? Yeah, of course. Now, do I think he deserves that type of money? Of course not. And I don't know where they're going to settle. But my viewpoint is the Washington Commanders today and new ownership and a fresh front office are in the business of Jaden Daniels. And I just don't see this ending any other way besides Terry McLaurin signing for an enhanced contract and being there for week one. Everything that happened last year, and you would be a tremendous resource on this. You've seen this franchise through the low points, the dysfunction, the embarrassment, the apathy. They finally recovered from all of that in one glorious flash of lightning last year with Jaden Daniels. The last thing anybody in that organization wants to do is turn back the clock to the bad old days. And that would mean not supporting Jaden Daniels with a number one receiver. They've got that guy on the roster. They just have to figure out the dollar amount that gets them in there. I have no doubt that they will do so because it's far more uncomfortable for them not to have Terry McLaurin on that roster than to pay him more than they think he's worth. So I just think this ultimately gets done.
I think that's kind of where everyone is, which in a way is terrifying, or it's because that's actually what's going to happen. And here's to hoping that that is the case. DA, thank you much for your time as always, sir. And we will talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. See ya.
Damon Amendolara, 6 to 9 a.m. weekdays on SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio. You can listen if you have SiriusXM in your car, or of course they have an app as well, because everyone has an app on the SiriusXM app. Just download it in the Apple App Store. Of course, you can listen to us in a bunch of places. I don't think we're on their app, but basically every other audio app, you can now listen to the Hoffman Show and all the rest of our friends here at the Team 980. Check it out on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and more. You can also watch us daily on YouTube at the Team 980. We will get into big Mystics trade reaction coming up at 6:30. We will get into a little bit of breaking news in a second because Anthony, it's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. I'm debating what to do with the clock here. I think I'm just going to do my breaking news now. But I have personal reporting that I can give in just a moment. 6 o'clock, we'll get back to the football. Joint practice tomorrow in New England. What are the 6 biggest questions we would like to see answered? Anthony and I will bat that around, go back and forth coming up at 6 o'clock. However, Anthony Haney, I have here, it's been sitting behind me the whole show, the Mystics traded for my dear friend Alicia Clark today. Right? I got my Alicia jersey. And what number does that say, Anthony, for the radio audience?
It says 22.
That's right, because when Alicia was here last time, she wore 22. She was traded today. Brittany Sykes, the all-star, going to Seattle. Mystics acquiring Alicia and a first-round pick. They also acquired Zaya Cook. They waived her in a corresponding move. They also waived Sika Kone today. But I have been cleared to break the news, Anthony, since she is not going to be wearing 22 because Sonia Citron has it. Alicia Clark in DC will be wearing number 32. Number 32, which is what she wore in Seattle. 22 was the number she wore in college at Middle Tennessee State, which is where we met far more years ago than either of us would like to admit at this point. But she went back to 22 here. She wore 7 in Vegas, and she was deciding, do I go 7? Do I go 32? Do I pick something totally different? But she's going to go number 32. So if you'd like to order a new Alicia Clark jersey, and you want to just go the customized route as opposed to waiting for them to get printed in the team store, 32 is the number that you want. That is, you can source that first. Alicia Clark told me 32. How about that for sourcing? Get your sources on the record, kids.
Have you already ordered yours?
No, I have not yet.
Okay.
I've been busy doing the show.
And you did just get the breaking news. That's fair.
Yeah, I literally, during the interview with Damon, that's when that text came in. We were talking about earlier today. And then she's like, I'm going to go with 32. And I was like, can I say that on the radio? Can I break that news? And she goes, yes. She was very excited for me to break that news. So,
who had it when she was here? Walker Kimbrough?
I think Tori had it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So she couldn't have 32 the first time around. I always do think it's funny when players in any sport like wind up playing for the same team in different jersey numbers. Like it's happened. Sometimes guys like get traded and then that opens up a number. So a teammate will be like, aha, I've been waiting for that number. But a multiple stint player who then, like I always love, like when Alicia went back to Seattle, she got 32 back. I think that's always cool when they can get their old jersey back. But in this particular case, Sony gets to keep 22 for now and hopefully the next decade. So AC is going to rock the 32 when she returns. All right, so with that breaking news out of the way, we come back. We talk football here on The Hoffman Show. What do we want to see? Joint practice tomorrow in New England. Anthony and I will toss it back and forth, snake draft style, next. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Don't forget, we're also now streaming live on the audio side on iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio. Just after 6 o'clock, a little bit different spin on this today. In some ways, it's kind of like a before a game pick six like we do during the season. We'll do one of those on Friday, I guess. Although, Anthony, you won't even be here, so I'll have to figure that out. I guess I'm all by myself. Do you know who's in on Friday? Have you looked at the schedule?
I have.
Who's in?
Baresh.
Okay, Baresh hits all the right buttons. He doesn't do a lot of talking. So I'll figure that out. So I might be all by myself on Friday on the pick six front. Maybe Anthony, you can send in your selections.
All right.
So we'll figure that out. The point is, no top stories, no top headlines. This is a predictive edition of the Pick Six.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick Six at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
All right, so here's how this is going to go. We're going to go back and forth as Anthony and I will talk about the 6 biggest players, position groups, storylines, etc., that we think are important going into this joint practice tomorrow with New England. So, Anthony, I am giving you the honors here. You are going to be able to select first. And with that, biggest storyline heading into practice tomorrow is
Number 1.
Number 1, Craig, I think with Terry not being out there, I think there's going to be a lot of, eyes on the wide receiver group and how they necessarily perform without Terry against a new defense. So all my eyes are going to be on the wide receiver group. If I had to choose one, it would probably be Luke McCaffrey. I'm sorry. Again, they've raved about him, his year 2, and what he's done so far. I think if he can go out there and show that, he can get open, I think he can be poised to be in that competition for their wide receiver 3, which is one of the position battles I'm also monitoring.
For sure. I think it's him, Jalen Lane. And look, here's the kind of weird part about this matchup. Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez are out for this practice. Yeah. Gonzalez has been out since like the first week, and I think they're just like wrap him in bubble wrap. He's unbelievable. That one hurts more every single day. The fact that they decided to pass on him for Emmanuel Forbes, really just the ultimate death nail from the Rivera era. Try not to get too bogged down on it. Too late, already there. Everyone cry together in 3, 2. He's out, and Carlton Davis, who they signed from the Lions in the offseason, are both out. So it's a real opportunity for guys like McCaffrey and Lane to say, like, okay, you're not going to have to try to prove yourself against one of the best corners in the league and one of the biggest free agent signings in the league. You're going against their depth guys. Go out and put on a show. And you have Jaden Daniels throwing to you, so you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And so, yeah, like I think this is a big opportunity for Lane, McCaffrey, but also for like Chris Moore and the guys battling for wide receiver 5/6. Because Noah Brown, I think, might be out as well. He missed practice on Monday, so I don't know if he's going to travel. They might just be like, hey, you're like, it's easier to get the treatment from the medical staff here, although some of the medical staff and the trainers will obviously be traveling with the team. There's also a group that's going to stay. And so depending on the injury, I think a lot of guys might wind up staying back, which leads me to
number 2.
Washington's offensive line against an improved defensive line for New England. One, Mike Vrabel's a guy that likes to play a lot of fronts. They have a 3-4 base, but they will also play some funky 4-down stuff. So after seeing so much of what Joe Witt has been doing, how do you react to a different group of fronts and a different group of players, including one of the biggest free agent signings in the offseason in Milton Williams? But it's also, who is it? Who's going to be actually playing for the Commanders? Brandon Coleman likely on that list of players who is out. So is it Andrew Wiley at left guard? If so, is that Josh Connerly then starting at right tackle? Connerly is one of my biggest questions for the week in general, because I kind of think he should play on Friday. I know he's a first-round pick and a potential starter, but like, he's 21 and he's a project, and they knew that coming in. The thing is, the project is going to be worth it, hopefully quickly. That's why you take him at the end of the first round. The upside's incredible. The learning curve should be fast, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so I want to know what the depth looks like. Is Allegretti playing left guard and someone else playing right guard? Like, is Wiley at right guard? Is Chris Paul playing left guard? Like, I am very curious to see. I'm sure in the practice it'll be some of all of the above. The game would be different if guys were playing, but they're not going to make Andrew Wiley play in a preseason game. And I don't think most of the starters are going to play on Friday either. So long story short, who is playing? And then how do they play? Does Tunsil look like Tunsil? Does Biadasz look like Biadasz? And then how does Connerly look? That's my biggest question. Number 2 in our pick 6. All right, Anthony, hit number 3, and then we'll take a break, come back, and hit 4 through 6.
Number 3.
Number 3, Craig, I'm going on the other side of the trenches. I'm going to the Washington defensive line. Again, one of the huge concerns from last season was whether or not we've done enough to fix our defensive front and be a little bit more stout in our run defense. And I think so far through camp, at least what I've seen, our offense has struggled, trying to run the ball against our front. Granted, Bill Krosky-Mara has had, some runs here and there, but again, they aren't really, tackling these guys. So who's to say like he really does break those runs? So I think going against a fresh, new offensive line in New England, I would love to see how we combat, what they're throwing at us on the defensive side of the ball up front.
Yeah, I think that is a really great question. This New England offensive line was booty last year. They were bad. They then took Will Campbell with the 4th overall pick, and from the early reports that I saw, he's looked pretty good. They also spent money. Our old pal Morgan Moses is playing right tackle for them. They spent some money. Garrett Bradbetter, he's like a longtime good veteran center. So they've really remade their offensive line. So when you get into those teams, and a Vrabel team's going to be physical. Obviously all those Derrick Henry teams in Tennessee, like even though he's a defensive coach, there's an attitude and a physicality that they're going to play with. So what does it look like when you get into those team run periods? What does it look like when you get into 9-on-7? What does it look like in those physical, type of things? I know, Anthony, we were talking in the break. You really hope that there's some one-on-ones. What does it look like in the one-on-ones? I would love to see like a Von Miller, Will Campbell, the vet versus the rookie. Neither of them in their primes. Campbell not yet. Miller past his, but still excellent. I want to see that stuff. So I think that's a really fun matchup to watch. All right, when we get back, you mentioned one name that I have written in all caps for number 4. That next, plus one more from Anthony and another one from me as we look ahead to the joint practice tomorrow. But first, let's get an update on the latest in the world of women's sports, presented by Wawa Chicken. How you want it at Wawa, with customizable crispy or roasted chicken sandwiches. It's the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980 on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and tune in as well. Pick 6 at 6. We are picking our biggest storylines heading into the joint practice with the New England Patriots for the Commanders tomorrow. First 3, in case you are just tuning in, / to recap. Anthony chose the Washington wide receivers versus New England DBs. I chose the Washington O-line in general. Who is it? Nevertheless, how do they perform with Brandon Coleman likely out due to injury, and see how the rotations go there. Anthony chose the other trenches, the Washington D-line versus New England O-line, which leads me to
number 4.
And I have simply written in all caps, Anthony, Bill. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He's been one of the stories of training camp so far. He is definitely having a good camp, but the running back position, as we talked about, I think it was at this time of the show yesterday, is very peculiar in training camp. It is hard to judge really how guys are doing because it's not live. Now, that actually makes him maybe the number 1 story going into Friday, but I'm very curious to see how many reps he gets with, especially if he gets reps with the ones in this practice. Because I would think, because he's a young guy, because they've never seen him, in live action, and because, remember, he barely played last year. He played 1 game at Arizona. Getting him game reps to readjust him to an actual football game is something they're absolutely going to want to do. So he's probably the number 1 story on Friday. But for tomorrow, a joint, knowing that the other running backs Eckler's not playing Friday, Robinson's not playing Friday. I mean, McNichols probably plays, but how much? I don't know. He's a veteran. He's been around. And so if those guys need the reps to get ready for the season, how many reps can you actually give Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt? Chris Rodriguez is technically ahead of him on the depth chart, according to that unofficial depth chart. And he's probably going to play on Friday. But, how many reps? Are you going to give Bill reps but not C-Rod? And so I'm anticipating him not getting a lot of reps with the ones, if any reps with the ones. In any kind of team run, ones on ones kind of thing, 9-on-7, whatever it may be tomorrow. But if he does, I do think that tells us something. There's not that many reps in a period. You can't throw them away. Every rep is meticulously managed. So if Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, gets a heavy dosage of usage at this joint practice with other players that we anticipate making the roster and playing major minutes, that tells us something. And then I'll be curious to see how much he plays on Friday. But that's why Bill is my second pick, Anthony.
I love your pick, Bill. Everybody loves Bill, though.
Bill. We got to get that drop. The Bill Nye the Science Guy drop with just them going, Bill. We got to lay claim to that now. All other shows, I know other hosts you listen to this show. Chris Russell, if you're out there, JP Flame's in Italy. Any of the other junkies, Sheehan, JP Finley, any of you Mama Jammas, steal the Bill. We have it on tape. We have it on video. We have it on audio. We have it here live. Everyone listening knows that's our drop. Nobody else. You can't have it. I am open to being paid, though. So if you guys want to send me a Venmo and just put the Bill, you can pay a certain amount of bills, and I will give you rights to share. Bill. Anyway, Anthony, number 5.
Number 5.
I'm a little bit torn, Craig.
Okay.
I'm stuck at the safety position. I think we're going to see Will Harris in the box. Also, the people behind him. You got the Kane Madranos, the Dominic Hamptons of the world, the Percy Butlers. I'm interested to see how we match up against their tight ends and their running backs, respectively, just because I feel like last year with Jeremy Chin, he was versatile. He could do both. Come down in the box, clean up, if he needed to, or at times, he could cover as well. Will Harris, there's a lot of questions around.
Historically, he's a better coverage player than Jeremy Chin.
Okay.
So he's not as good in the box, but he will thump. But he's not quite as big, truly kind of looks like a linebacker who wandered into the safety room. He's a big dude. I think because I knew he wasn't as big as Jeremy Chin, I anticipated a smaller human being. And then I was like, who the hell is 3? That's a big dude. Oh, that's Will Harris?
Yeah.
Damn. So it's not like he's small, but he has traditionally been a better and more versatile coverage player than Jeremy Chin. I think the question is with guys like Medrano and Hampton, like what's the usage package? Are they dime linebackers? And we were talking about this during the break, Anthony. It doesn't matter what you call them, right? If you're playing in the box / in the nickel-ish area, I don't care whether we call you a nickel, a big nickel, a safety, a linebacker. You have to do a job. Are you the hook player? Are you, a different delineation of underneath zone player? Are you a man player on a running back or a tight end? Like whatever it is, you don't get bonus points or get away with holding or like get any secret powers or advantages or not secret powers or advantages by being designated as one thing versus the other. You're you against another dude in another uniform, and you got to do the job. And so I'm curious to see what that usage looks like. Is it Will Harris coming down and a guy like Percy Butler going in? Is it Butler down in the big nickel? Is it Medrano? Is it Hampton? How do those guys get used? There will be more linebacker reps available because I don't believe Jordan McGee is going to be participating. He was out on Monday. So I'm very curious to see. I will also say I hope that people who see if they do one-on-ones and there's coverage drills, do not base it off the one-on-ones. Coverage drills are designed for the offense to win. Hey, you have a full field and no pass rush. If you can't get open, you're kind of terrible at your job. So unless you treat the drill honestly and you just kind of stay on the outside, but when you're a running back or a tight end, you're operating from the middle of the field anyway, like you should win. That said, the running backs and tight ends for New England are pretty good. Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, vets who know how to get it done. Travion Henderson, the rookie. Antonio Gibson, obviously a great receiving back, former wide receiver, as everyone knows, former commander. And Ramondre Stevenson's a vet. So definitely, I think that's a good one to highlight, a good one to watch. But let's see how they do in team situations. And obviously, I think for Hampton and Medrano in the game versus what happens in a one-on-one drill on a clip you might see on Twitter tomorrow. All right, last but not least.
Number 6.
I'm just going to do it. Like, it's Jaden Daniels versus Drake May, bro. Like, this is going to be fun. And I know that you're not allowed to say anything nice about Drake May, but it's okay for both of them to be good. And that's good because both of them are real good. No regrets for anyone in D.C. about taking Jaden Daniels. They made the right pick. I thought they made the right pick at the time. Some of you disagree with that, which is weird because then you disagree with me about the thoughts inside my own head and ones that I verbalized into these microphones that are there for posterity if you just look at them. But that does not mean that Drake May would not have also been a good pick if Jaden Daniels didn't exist or that he can't be good for New England. These two guys rock. Drake is on a, well, I don't say on a fun to watch because damn, Jaden pulls some stuff. On a wild card level, I'm glad he's not my quarterback, but entertainment. That's the best way to put it. Drake May is captain of that team. Think of when Baker Mayfield's running around or some of these other guys where you're like, I don't know if it's going to be good, but I'm never not going to be entertained. Drake May's that guy. And he's going to get better and better and become in some ways less entertaining, but also way better at football, which I think is a separator between him and a guy like I think his ceiling is higher than what Baker has wound up being. Baker's obviously a very, very good player. With Jaden, he just came in and was rock steady the whole time, rock solid. And he obviously also has tremendous highlight plays, the escapability. It's super fun when he is your quarterback because the downsides don't come that often and the highs are so incredibly high. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm excited to see these guys battle for years to come. I think there's a great chance that at some point down the line, they could play each other in a Super Bowl. I'm here for it. I think they're both that good. I think Jaden is obviously well ahead of Drake right now. He should be. He's older. And he had a lot more experience last year, and he had a way better team around him. But, yeah, this is fun because it's two of the top 3 picks in last year's draft. Both of them had excellent rookie seasons. Jaden, maybe the best rookie season ever. Drake, a good one in his own right by normal rookie standards. And they're going to be on the same practice fields. That's fun. Why can't we have fun with that? The answer is, Anthony, we can.
Yes, we can. And we will.
Yes, we can. All right. Do not forget the Bill thing. I'm serious about that. I'll come back in there. I don't care if the air conditioning's not fixed.
I'm on it right now.
Excellent. All right, when we get back, huge WNBA trade today for your Washington Mystics and a preview of tonight's game against the Chicago Sky next here on the Team 980. Team 980 on the Odyssey app, on iHeartRadio, and YouTube as well at the Team 980. So big trade today in the WNBA, the first of what should be many over the next couple of days. We'll see if the Mystics are more active. I think a lot of the insiders think that they will be. There's a little disagreement in reading a bunch of this. It's funny, like reading all the stories today, Anthony, from The Athletic and ESPN and W Insider and like all these different places all seem to have slightly different information. Any range of Aaliyah Edwards, Stephanie Dolson, Emily Anxler all could move over the next couple of days. I also saw reported for the first time. I need to double check on this. Aaliyah, like in the Athletic story, they said Aaliyah Edwards requested a trade in early July. Now, there was the reporting from Kendra Andrews, who we had on the show, and we might have Kendra or Alexa Philippou from ESPN tomorrow. ESPN is efforting to see if it can work with their schedules. But, hey, would you like an insider around their trade deadline? Hard to schedule. So we're working on that. But Kendra and Alexa reported that the Mystics had potentially put out feelers, but I don't ever remember seeing there was a trade request. So I'm not sure if that just got mixed up in the Athletics reporting. But long story short, like there's definitely a chance between now and Thursday, which is the deadline, that there are more moves for Washington. But today they made one that I don't think a lot of folks saw coming. The Mystics trade All-Star Brittany Sykes, who just made her first All-Star team and has been awesome. And by the way, a friend of the show, very sad on that route to see Slim go. Always enjoyed talking to her. She was great here, and that should not be lost in this. But they trade her to Seattle in exchange for, really, if we're being honest, the big coup here is getting a first-round pick. The fact that they get one of the absolute best humans and leaders in the NBA is a hell of a salary match piece that you get to go. Seattle, actually, Anthony, I've never seen this before. Guess how much salary cap room Seattle had to wiggle with when making this deal?
$5 million.
No, that's way more than the W salary cap is.
Okay.
So we're talking
$100,000.
So $100,000 would be like a slim number to be working with, right? They had $223. That was in Kevin Pelton's reporting.
$223?
I think her Hoops is the go-to site on that. Yes, the Seattle Storm had $223 to play with. So they had to basically match dollar for dollar salary-wise, which is why the Storm sent not only Alicia Clark, three-time WNBA champion, former Mystic, two-time champion with the Storm, who re-signed there this offseason, and things have not gone well there for a bunch of reasons that don't really matter anymore. But it hasn't gone great this season for AC, who, again, full transparency, is like a dear, dear personal friend, someone that I've known for over a decade since we were at Middle Tennessee State together in college. But, like, they had to include Zaya Cook in the deal to make the salaries work, because otherwise taking on a little bit of extra salary, taking on a slightly lower salary, slim salary, slightly less than Alicia's, they couldn't do that because they literally had $223 in cap space. So for the Mystics, the coup is getting the first round pick. There are 15 selections in the 2026 WNBA draft's first round. The Mystics own 3 of them. 3. Now, the Storm owned 3 before this trade. And unfortunately, the 2 that they will keep will be the better 2 picks, most likely. They own who is it? They own Las Vegas's pick. That one we'll see. They also own Los Angeles's pick. That one could be a really good pick. So they will keep those 2 picks. But that allowed them to say, like, we'll give up ours. And the reason they're going after Slim, who, if we're being totally honest, all personal biases aside, of course, at this point in their respective careers, Brittany Sykes is a better player than Alicia. Like, Alicia was the best defender in the league for a long stretch, somehow never won Defensive Player of the Year, but was first-team all-defense multiple years in a row. That is not quite the level she's at now, although I still think she's got it in her. She shot 37% from 3 last year. But no one's going to be like, oh, she deserved to be an all-star. Slim just made an all-star team a week ago, 2 weeks ago. She's incredible and is having the best offensive season of her career, and is just, I think, really figured out how to be like a starring player on that end. Obviously, her defensive prowess is still one of the best in the league, one of the few players over the last decade that I put up on Alicia's level in their primes, and she's still at that level. So, long story short, Seattle wants another player to come and join Skylar Diggins, Nneka Ogwumike. They get that in Slim. The Mystics get a first-round pick, and they instantly replace Slim's leadership with a 3-time champion who can help mentor. I mean, we've heard how much, say, Sonia Citron has learned from Brittany Sykes, how much she looked up to Slim. Sydney Johnson's talked about the leadership. We've talked to Slim about the leadership. And there just aren't a bunch of players running around planet Earth that you can bring in that if you're going to trade one of your leaders, that nobody in the locker room is going to go, like, sure, there's sadness today. And I was just scrolling through Instagram in the break, and Kareem Copeland from the Post actually had, like, video of Slim at shoot-around today. So that's how fast this happened, was Slim is at shoot-around, like, celebrating with Sonia Citron after Sony hit the half-court shot to end practice. And then within an hour, 2 hours, she's traded. So they'll miss her on a human level. But when it's like, oh, we're getting Alicia, then instantly you're like, sick. Like, we've got leadership. And I think it also, frankly, while it would be hard because Alicia hasn't spent the year with Sydney Johnson, if they want to trade Stephanie Dolson as well, and I can talk about why the Mystics might want to do this in a second, and why they're making these moves in a larger context beyond just the first-round pick in a second. But if they want to trade Stephanie Dolson, knowing you have that level of leader, truly one of the absolute best in the sport and one of the best in the league with as much experience as anyone in the league. Alicia, if you're listening, turn this part off. The oldest player in the league. You know that you can make those kinds of moves and not have a void in a vacuum. Although here in the back half of the season, like, let's see what some of these young players can do from a leadership side. The other big thing, Anthony, I think that's important to point out is the Mystics have been flirting with the final playoff spot all year. And I think it's very easy as a fan to forget, because of how exciting this team has been, because of how much they've outperformed expectations, that they've wildly outperformed expectations. We now watch these games expecting them to compete and to win against anybody. Like, they can compete with the Minnesotas and the New Yorks. And while those teams will absolutely win more often in the end, and if you play those, a series, 5-game series, or like your theoretical, these teams play 10 times. How many does each side win? Of course, New York and Minnesota would win probably 7 or 8, but you'd expect them all to be relatively close games. And because of that, it's easy to forget how early this is, that this is technically year one of a rebuild. That in the post-Tebow era, they've torn this thing down. They had 3 first-round picks last year. They hit absolute grand slams on the first 2 with Sony and with Kiki, and we don't know what they hit with Georgia because she had the injury on the second day of training camp. So what's more valuable to them, making the playoffs as an 8th seed this year, or missing and winding up back in the lottery? This is where I now remind you 2 fun facts about the WNBA lottery that most likely you forgot. Ready for these, Anthony? You ready for your 2 fun facts?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Number 1, the WNBA's lottery odds go on a 2-year rolling system. So instead of simply who has the worst record this year, it is who had the worst record over the past 2 seasons. Take that, give the respective lottery odds, then do the ping pong balls, and they do it for the first 2 picks. And now with the amount of teams there are in the league, 13 this year, 2 more expansion coming, there are 5 teams that will be in the lottery. Last year it was 4. So while Connecticut is by miles the worst team in the league this year, they won 14 more games than Washington last year when they were good. Alyssa Thomas was still there, on down the list. So based off the teams that are kind of floating around right now, the Mystics could finish as high as 3rd, even if they just missed the playoffs by a couple of games. They could finish as high as 3rd in the lottery odds in a pretty loaded draft. So that would be cool. That's worth it. And here's the other side. Here's fun fact number 2. If the Mystics were to make the playoffs, like, the experience would be great. There's no doubt that for the long-term development, there is some upside of that. And winning is good. Like, nobody should ever poo-poo winning. But because there are 2 expansion teams, let's say you do what happens. You're the last team in the playoffs. You face Minnesota in the first round, and you get swept. Okay, cool. Great experience that was. There's now 2 expansion teams ahead of you in the draft. So you drop from being potentially the 5th pick by missing the playoffs and not having any lottery luck to the 8th pick, not to the 6th pick. You miss the lottery by 1 in the NBA, you're just the next team. In a normal non-expansion year, you're the next team. But the way the W has done this in the past, including last year with Golden State and with Toronto and Portland entering this season, now this could change with the CBA, which is up famously, but the Mystics, instead of being 5th, you have Portland and Toronto 6th and 7th, and then the Mystics would be 8th. So there is actually, for a long-term planning, and let's call it an elevated benefit of missing the playoffs. If they make it, okay. That means their young players played tremendously well. You're only going to get so mad about that. But if you go, why would you trade an all-star and consider trading another, contributing to winning player in Stephanie Dolson over the next couple of days? Why would you trade your all-star and Slim today when you're fighting for a playoff spot? That's why. That's why. Did my fun facts help explain that, Anthony?
No, definitely makes sense.
Okay. Just
Definitely
make sure
does make sense.
We didn't lose anybody along the way. And you get to be the everybody.
Yeah.
You're just a man of the people and for the people. You represent the people.
Sort of.
Sort of. You're the best. There's only 2 people on the show. It's me or you, and I think you're a better representative. Also, I got to host the show, so I'm kind of over here trying my best to do the stuff. Anyway, all the other breaking news relative to this trade exclusively reported here on the Hoffman Show. Alicia Clark will wear 32 for the Mystics because Sonia Citron has 22, which she wore last time, which is on this jersey sitting behind me. When we get back, we wrap up the show here on the Team 980. Wrapping up here on the Hoffman Show, Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. Tomorrow on the show, we are scheduled to catch up with CBS Sports contract insider, NFL cap guru, Joel Corey. So we'll dive into the Terry McLaurin contract situation. One of the questions I have for Joel is basically like, why can't he get his own DK contract if like the agent's going to be a pain in the butt about winning the headline, which is something I know Joel has talked about not doing when he was the agent. He cared about the substance of the deal. But if like for whatever reason this is something that they want, like just give them, like, is there a downside to giving fake money? Is one of the questions I have. So we'll get into all that and more with Joel tomorrow, and kind of does matter, doesn't matter on some of the arguments being made on both sides of that situation. Also on the show tomorrow, joint practice reaction. So we'll have someone from up in Foxborough who watches practice. Anthony, what could be an interesting thing for us to do on Thursday, I'm having this thought out loud, but we should try to get someone from the Patriots side of it and be like, what stood out to you about the Commanders if you were watching? I know I say that knowing that when I used to watch joint practices, I was kind of more focused on the team that I was covering. But you can't help but notice some things about the other side. So that could be an interesting thing to think about for Thursday, depending on who's up there, who's out there, and what are some of the things that we see making their way around the internet. Anything else that we need to do from a housekeeping standpoint, Anthony?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, let's get into some real things real people said into real microphones then, shall we?
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
There's nothing like brothers fighting. I wouldn't know. I don't have a brother. Anthony, how often do you fight with your brothers?
Well, not physical fight, but we get into
bickering.
Bickering. All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I love it.
And
there's nothing I love more.
Yeah, that's your familial brothers, your fraternity brothers. There's lots of bickering. Sometimes I walk in on phone conversations. You're shouting on speakerphone. I'm like, what in the hell? Luckily for us, the Adetokounmpo brothers did that into microphones. On Thanasis' podcast, Giannis, Thanasis, and the crew argued about who was the best cook amongst the Greek NBA brothers.
Who's the best cook?
I'm going to say me.
So he said him. I don't know why Giannis raised his hand.
Only thing I'll make you the best carbonara with chicken parmesan you've ever had in your life.
First of all, if you say carbonara with chicken parmesan.
He said chicken parmesan and he said carbonara.
Oh, no.
So, he said two different
chicken parmesan with carbonara.
Chicken parmesan and carbonara.
That maybe is the American version.
Only
carbonara.
thing he knows how to make is eggs and avocado. Every time I see him, he's like, yo, you got to make these eggs and avocado, man. I'm like.
So I think it's Costas.
Thank you.
I think
it's me too.
Alex, do you cook? Do you do anything?
Yeah, of course. The real answer is me. If I'm being
Really?
yeah, of course. I'm gonna give it to him.
What do you cook?
Me? I cook everything, man. What's everything?
Why you haven't cooked for me, man?
You never cooked for us. No, I say this because I'm by myself, so I have no choice.
Oh,
but
that's
to
true.
cook. What's your favorite thing to cook? I do a lot of things. I like steak bites. We get these TikTok recipes. Hey, however you can get it, bro.
Hey, there's some good recipes on TikTok. There's also
a lot of good recipes.
Bro, there's also some horrifying recipes on TikTok. There's some stuff you see there where you're like, what? My other favorite thing is like, I don't know why it's so addicting to watch like chefs watch other people make food. Like the split screens. Why is that so much fun to watch? Anyway.
I don't know.
That's our show. BetMGM tonight is next, then Mystic Sky coming up at 8 here on the team.